Okay. Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy December 12th. Everyone on Zoom, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we sure can.
Wonderful. Audio sounds good. You can hear me good?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, I feel like we haven't had a class in a bit since November. So this is our first contract class for the December. So we're going to be touching a little bit on this new California law, okay? Digital altered images in real estate advertisement, okay? What does this mean? What does this entail? What is this going to change the trajectory of our future in real estate? Well, not really much. I don't want you to worry about this, okay? It's just a new implementation that the state is doing to make sure full transparency of what we do, okay? So starting January 1st of 2026, AB 723 will be introduced as part of a strict disclosure requirements for us real estate professionals. And basically what it is alterations of images, right? Especially on the MLS, right? You have a photo of a room, but that photo has now furniture that does not originally on the photo have any furniture, right? What we call staging stuff, right? So what has caused this is misleading, altered, and not true to the actual property. This is why these rules come to be. This is only because of a litigation, a lawsuit that ultimately the California Association of Realtors makes us do to be in compliance uh, to protect the consumer. Because at the end, it's about protecting the consumer, the buyer that's buying a property, sees images, believes that these images are concise, but the truth of the matter is not, right? And we'll go into the details of what this all means. So you'll get a clear, concise understanding, right? And if you are a listing agent, right, when it comes to professional photography, this is also professional photographers, right, that alter photos as well. So you got to know the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, and how we're going to navigate this to be in compliance. Because I can tell you, that the multiple listing service, the MLS, will definitely flag your listing and your photos if it's not within compliance. Okay, so let's dive deep into the conversation so you'll get a better understanding, right, of how this new uh, uh, platform is going to help us navigate, any potential compliance situation under the AB 723. Okay. All right. So what is AB 723? Well, the basis of it is really the Business and Professional Code created new legal obligations for real estate licensing regarding digitally altered images and advertisement. Okay. And all of this is going to be effective starting the 1st of January of 2026. Okay, so it applies to sales of real property and leases exceeding 1 year or more, right? So this applies to these two components, the sale of a home and the lease of a 1 year or more. And all of this, folks, it's subject to change. Okay, so what I'm saying to you today, what I'm saying today may be different uh, in January, right? But for now, this is what we currently have as part of the process. Why does this matter, right? So the reason behind this is the concern about what I said earlier, misleading property representation in the digital world, right? Now we as individuals have what's called AI, right? Artificial intelligence, right? Where we can alter, right, the image. If I wanted to alter my image, right, from having white hair to black hair, being older or younger, I can do that with artificial intelligence, right? AI. So the essence is because of all of the technology that has helped us, is also can be scrutinized and misleading. This is the reason this new AB 723 came into play. Okay. So as a photo editing software and AI tools become more sophisticated, California lawmakers recognize the needs to protect the consumers, right? Because at the end, folks, it's all about protecting the consumer, right? Especially if you represent the buyer, right, and believes that what they're buying is what they see sometimes on the photos, right? And then they come to find out that that was not. It was actually a um, a modification or edit image. So real estate professionals must now balance creative marketing with what we call transparency, right? Which is required, right? And now most of us who do alter photos also have to put a disclaimer, right? So we'll dive into the conversation of what language you must use in order for you to be in compliance. Make sense? Okay. So let's go into what counts as a digital altered image, right? So under the 723 defines a digitally altered image as any image created by or at the direction of a real estate broker, salesperson, or person acting on their behalf that has been modified through photo editing software or artificial intelligence. Okay, so property elements. Okay, so this is what they're talking about. Any fixtures and appliances, right? So if the property doesn't have certain appliances, but you add an appliance to it, right? That's altering the actual photo of the image, right? Flooring, right? Maybe the property has carpet, but you rather put hardwood floors, right? That's altering the image as well. Paint colors, right? Well, the house looks really, really bad with this blue, Dodger blue look, right? We're going to alter it into more lighter yellow or tan or brown or even white, right? That's altering the image. Okay. That's for properties interior and exterior as well. Furnitures, including virtual staging, lighting fixtures, cabinetries, countertops, window treatments, so on and so forth, right? Exterior and landscaping, right? Hardscape and landscaping. Uh, Views through windows, neighborhoods, right? You have a window and you know that this window does not, or this home does not have an ocean view, but now you alter that photo where you can actually see the ocean, right? Or the mountains, right? So again, for full transparency, anything that you're doing to alter it must be fully disclosed. Okay. Neighborhood properties, right? Let's say that the property backs to a freeway, right? But you alter the photo so you don't actually see the freeway, right? You just see landscaping, right? And the person goes with the intent, love the location, and realizes when they see it on the map, oh gosh, it's so close to the freeway, but I see the backyard on the MLS, but I guess it doesn't have a view of the backyard. And then when they actually go and physically see the property, they realize, wait a minute. The photos do not do justice because I can actually see on the backyard right in front of me is the 405 freeway as an example, right? So again, going into the understanding, and again, it's common sense, right? If you know something doesn't feel right, then it's probably good to what? disclose, right? And make sure that it's fully transparent of what you are actually providing because you don't want this to come back and bite you. You don't want this to come back and they say, well, you misled us. We believe this and it's not that. And now we are requesting some type of, compensation, right? Because that can happen, right? So just like I said about a window and the view of something pretty, but it may not because when they go there, it's in an industrial area, right? So again, that's the whole purpose of this new law that's going to take effect come January. Critical as part of the virtual staging, what are the new requirements to disclose? Okay. The definition of digitally altered images include furniture if you're virtual staging to add, remove, or change furniture in the property photos, you must disclose the images have been digitally altered. So again, as long as you disclose that these photos are not actual, then you're in compliance with this new rule. Virtual staging has become a popular and cost-effective marketing, right? Because in the eyes of a consumer, it may look prettier. They may want to submit an offer. In the eyes of the seller, right? When a home is vacant and you are now going through the motions of is saying, look, we can save money if we do staging, but we do virtual staging than actual staging, right? Because if you weigh both in cost, a virtual staging is going to cost far few less than actually having furniture there, right? And if the seller can actually do furnitures and staging, it's definitely better because it's not misleading, right? They can actually see when they walk into the property and say, okay, you can tell that this has been staged. It's the alterations of a photo, right? When the house, the living room, the bedrooms, the kitchen don't have anything, but you're using artificial intelligence to stage it. That's where the problem comes into play. Okay. So this represents a significant shift in marketing practice. Agents who routinely use virtual staging services must now implement disclosure protocol for every stage image that they publish. Okay. So again, as we close out 2025 and into 2026, there's going to be a lot of changes, even with the new car forms, right? We've explained it in the past through our sales meeting that there's two forms that are going to be in effect come Monday, right? One of them is the acknowledgement of referrals, right? We explain what's going to happen with referrals now. We have to fully transparent with the consumers, buyers and sellers. If we're negotiating terms on referrals, the consumer has to know, and they must also sign off on it that they have read, acknowledged, and ultimately approved it. Okay. So this is no different. So what excludes standard photo editing? Okay. So all images modifications require disclosures, right? So this is where you don't need to disclose this type of modifications. Okay. So take a photo of this, take notes, or obviously take a look at our recording. But when a photo is modified for lighting and exposure, adjusting the brightness, shadows, and overall exposure levels, color corrections, white balance adjustments, and color temperature corrections, image enhancements, sharpening, angle corrections, and strengthening, framing, cropping to improve composure without misrepresentation of the property. These standard adjustments are part of the professional practice and do not trigger the AB 723 disclosure requirements based on this. Okay, so if you're doing these type of editings, then you don't have to disclose, and it doesn't trigger 723. Okay. What are required elements, right? When you are using altered images in advertisement, right, to promote as part of your marketing, right? What is mandated under this new provision of AB 723? Both elements are required, and missing either one puts you out of compliance, right? So be very careful. Again, going through the motions. Most of your professional photographers should be up to speed, right? Because they're the ones that typically do most of your professional photography for your listings, right? So in essence, they also can help. And if they don't, maybe you can advise them, right? And tell them, listen, are you familiar with AB 723? And if they don't, then maybe you should be using someone that is more compliant to what's happening in our industry. Because if they're doing a lot of volume and a lot of business, right, they are working with realtors on a regular basis. Trust me, one of the agents is going to tell them, hey, I don't want to be out of compliance. I don't want to be fined. I don't want them to remove, but I also don't want to be in a situation where it's compromising because I've misled them with an image, right? So again, the professionals that are on top of all of these new rules and regulations will know and will understand their position. So it's critical and important that you work with the people that are on top of these rules and regulations. Remember, most of the new changes happen as we close out the year, December, and as we go into 2026, right? That goes for many things, right? Law, real estate, DNV, right? All of these new changes typically happen on the first day of the new year. Okay, so the written disclosure statements, right, which is again to be in compliance, is a clear statement indicating the image has been digitally altered. The statement must be reasonably and compliance is located on an adjacent to the alter image. So basically, what it's stating the fact is, look, it's perfectly fine to alter any images that you have, right? So let's just say, for example, you have 50 images, okay? And out of those 50 images, you might have done 20 altered, right? As long as you have the original, right, with the alter enhance image, then you're within compliance, right? Because the consumer can now see, oh, okay, this is the enhanced image, but I actually see, right? I actually see the original image as well. So that's basically, in my opinion, saying here's the truth of it. Look, we just did it for marketing purposes because we want to get as much traffic, as much eyes on this property. But the truth of the matter is, this is the actual photo as well. So as long as you have the original with the enhanced, then you're within compliance. Okay. Access to the original images, provide a link to a public accessible link such as a website, a URL, or a QR code where viewers can see the original unaltered version of the image, right? And the original must be clearly identified, right? So again, speaking again, if you are taking your own photos, right? Because, now with our smartphones, most of these phones are super sophisticated and they can take really professional images, your phones, right? And maybe you're using that. Not that I recommend it, right? Always use a professional that has the right equipment, the right lighting, the right angle, right? Especially if you're dealing with high-end clientele, they expect nothing but the best, right? And if you have not so quality images, right? That really shows and says something about the agent, right? How many times have we went on the MLS and these photos are really horrible, right? You can barely see, they're very blur, they have poor lighting, can't really see the details of the property, right? That is not a professional, right? You go with the professionals that can help you and support you, right? Make you that property look like a wow factor, right? Like a wow, you know what? I'm curious about this property. I want to know about this. Let's set an appointment to see it, right? And this is where marketing is vital and very, very important, right? The disclosure also states that the statement should be informed the viewer that the alter image can be accessible through a link, right? And again, a URL or a QR code is highly suggested as part of the process. So special rules for your own website, okay? Simply compliance options under the AB 723. Flexibility when digitally altered images appear on websites you control, your brokerage site, personal agent websites, right? Option one, include both the altered and unaltered version of the image directly, right? And most of us typically will, not necessarily have photos on your websites. Top agents probably have their special websites that they have all of their syndicated listings, or they have it syndicated into their multiple listing service. And sometimes you have no control over that, right? You have no control of other agents' listings, but you definitely have control under your listings, right? So if it's your listing, your images, make sure that if you're doing any type of enhancements to it, that it's properly as part of the compliance element to make sure that you're protected under that new AB 723 rule. Option two, provide a link to a public accessible website containing clear identify alter images along with the required statement, right? The website owners have direct over content presentation and can easily display multiple images. Remember, it's all about the optics, right? Okay. The grass looks super green, right? It looks beautiful, well kept, well nourished. And once they go to the property, it's dirt, right? Is that part of this new rules and regulations? Yeah, it is, right? Because you altered a photo that to the public eye, it looks like it's a beautiful lawn, but in essence, it's really not, right? It's a bunch of dirt. So again, that's part of this new process. So what are the best practice for being in compliance? Okay. So maintaining the original image, create a systematic file system for all originals. You can do a file, a folder, a zip, and keep everything in one, right? Well, with the MLS, it allows you to put, so many images, right? So if you have a bedroom, that you've enhanced, make sure you just have the original photo that does not have the enhanced image in there, right? As an example, staging, right? This particular bedroom one has the bedroom, nightstands, lighting, nightstands. Maybe it has a floor rug, but the actual true image is completely no furniture whatsoever, completely empty, right? So you're going to have to attach both in order to be in compliance. Okay. Document your editing process. Keep detailed records of what modifications were made to each image. Again, it's not rocket science, right? But you also want to make sure that you keep on top of it because I've seen mistakes and I've seen errors, especially if you're using an assistant. They may not know the rules and regulations and they just look at all of the pretty photos uploaded into the MLS and fail to put in the original photos. And now you get ding and a violation and possible fine or removal of these images, right? Because it falls under this new regulations. Create a disclosure template. Okay, develop a disclosure language and format that meets the reasonable requirements, test and visible of your disclosure as various devices and platforms. Consider using consistent fonts, size, colors, and placements to ensure disclosures, right? So again, don't be the agent that puts a very, very small wording that you can barely see it, right? You have to make sure that people know that this is an altered image generated by some artificial intelligence enhancement, virtual assistants, anything to make the photo look more enhanced. You have to put some type of disclaimer on it, right? Saying that this is an altered image, right? Because the consumer, being the consumer, if they feel like they've been misled, immediately you're going to get the consumers reaching out to the office wanting to speak to their to the manager or the broker. Education. Okay, so ensure the photographer, staging company, marketing coordinator, and anyone creating promotional materials understands this new role. It is your job, it is your responsibility, and it's your duty to make sure that anything that you're doing to service your clients and your listing, that anyone that's involved in any type of marketing, right, that they educate them and say, hey, I have to be in compliance. The photos need to be in compliance. So I encourage you to please, follow the rules and regulations, right? Because they may not know. And remember, you cannot take someone's face value that they know this new regulations that will be in effect come this year. So it's our job to make sure that you educate the person that's doing it, right? So if it's a professional photography, a marketing company that's doing some type of enhancements for the benefit of you, right? Because when people see things that are pretty and beautiful, um, you'll get more eyes on it, right? You'll get more interest on it, right? But if that's not the true nature of the property, then we want to make sure that we put some type of disclaimer. Okay, so establish clear protocol and flagging altered image and implement a disclosure before any publication. So make sure that before it goes on the MLS, before it goes in any flyers, before it goes in any social media, okay, that you review it and approve it and make sure that you're following the rules because at the end, it's not the professional photographer, it's not the marketing company that's going to get dinged. It's you as a licensed real estate agent. Remember what it says. What falls under this new rule is brokers, salespersons, right? Your job and responsibility is to let everyone else who is doing or you're leveraging your marketing that they understand that they need to provide you with both, right? The original and also, the enhanced one. MLS considerations. So check with your local MLS immediately to understand the specific rules and implementation timelines for handling. Trust me, CRMLS and most of your platforms are very aware of all of these new rules. So they have their compliance department dissecting, reviewing all of the MLS, not just for photos, but they also are looking for any language of discrimination, anything of compensation. If you're doing a lot of listings, you'll see that every once in a while your listing may get flagged, right? So this is just another layer of additional work that they have to now include. That compliance under CRMLS will be monitoring all of the listings to make sure that we as real estate agents are in compliance. And two, they're going to give you a warning. Okay. They're going to they're going to give you a warning. They're going to give you a possible citation, but they're going to let you know, hey, or remove it automatically. If you do nothing, they can remove it automatically as well. So here are some recommendations under the new AB 723 multiple listing service is potential MLS actions. So new uploaded fields, mandatory checkboxes or special tagging systems for alter images, technical solutions, built-in disclosures, generated tools. So the MLS may have these additional stuff that they'll know if it's a alter photo where it'll automatically flag it, right? Automatically flag it. So again, be on the lookout, especially if you're putting any new listings come January 1st in the entire 2026, right? Policy updates, revised rules of participation and potential penalties for non-compliance. So again, if you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to us, or you can also reach out to the local association and make sure, hey, before I upload anything, I just want to get some insight. You can always reach out to compliance to get more information. Okay. And again, all of this is all subject to change. There might be more rules and regulations and other stuff that may impact, um, these this compliance. And then the final, just kind of a takeaway and prepared, is the timeline, which is the time that this will be in effect, will be this January 1st. Excuse me, use the remaining time to update your system. So even if your listings right now, right, we're not yet in January, right, but your listings right now do have enhanced images, make sure that you go in there and put one of the originals there as well. Otherwise, when January 1st hits, CRMLS or any MLS that you're part of, because this is in the whole entire state of California, then you may get a compliance situation or issue, right? So you don't want to be in violation. So make sure that you're updating all of your listings as of today, right? Even though it doesn't take effect till January 1st, but don't wait till the last minute, especially with the holidays. And, sometimes maybe we're out of the area going on vacation. You don't want to stress over it. Take care of it now. Virtual staging requirements and disclosures, any furniture added, removal, change through digital images. Remember, anything that you do to enhance it, right? Like virtual stagings, colors, putting a window that is not that window, maybe putting French doors. And in the eyes of the agent, is we're trying to envision, right, what this house can look like if you were to do this, right? But in the eyes of a consumer, they may think that that French door, right, is there. And when they get there, it's just an actual door, right? And it's dark and dingy. And that French door would bring in more natural lighting, right? That's again altering the photo. Uh, Two-part disclosure mandated. You must provide both a copy of the original with a written statement and access to the original through either a link, the actual photo, or the URL or a QR code, right? So anywhere on there you can put, hey, look, here's the altar, but if you want to know what the actual home looks like, here's a QR code that would give you all 30 images that are the original that the house before it's been enhanced. Okay. And then obviously stay informed on all of the MLS rules and regulations. Your local MLS will likely implement procedures and communications with the MLS ensures you're prepared for all of the changes. Because again, you don't want to fall a victim and now you get fined or removal of your listing, right? Because that definitely will impact your business. So just kind of looking at it from all perspectives and angles and how to be in compliance. And then last but not least, your AB 723 represents a significant shift in real estate marketing practice by understanding these requirements now and implementing a robust compliance systems. You're protecting your business, maintaining consumer trust, and continuing leveraging digital market tools effectively and legally, right? Because remember, at the end, it's about the consumer, right? The consumer, consumer, consumer. You got to protect the consumer. But the beautiful thing, too, of all of these enhancements, right, is these can definitely enhance the property, just like we see so many photos with images of individual people. It's like, wow, that's not how that person looks, right? That's the same component of why misleading could get you in a pickle, right? So, any thoughts, questions, or concerns regarding this new regulation under AB 723? And again, you still have a couple weeks before this comes into play. January 1st, 2026 is the compliance date that if you have any listings with alter images on it, any marketing, anything right now, flyers, social media, MLS, your websites, even if you're sending text messages, right? You happen to have a list of all of your photos, right? And you got them all altered, right? Again, that's out of compliance, even sending a text. So if I was to send you a text, Jim a text, right? And Jim receives them, I have to now include the originals that are not enhanced with the enhanced ones, right? Or play it simple. Don't enhance it, just keep it the way they are, and that avoids AB 723. With that being said, if there is no additional question, that concludes our class.
I have a question, Simon.
1 second. Yes. Yes, it's illegal to mislead people. Just like misleading someone on a real estate transaction, it's going to get you in trouble. So now, as part of this new rule is, yeah, if you mislead someone by an altered photo and they believe that this was included, right? And I'll give you a prime example, right? The house doesn't have a refrigerator, but you include a refrigerator to enhance the optics of the property, right? And now they submit an offer, right? And that offer gets accepted. Now they're going through their due diligence and realize, wait a minute. There was a refrigerator. They didn't say they were going to remove it. So my assumption was that the refrigerator was staying. Now the agent is calling the other agent and says, "Hey, my buyer was curious. What happened to the fridge? What fridge?" Well, the fridge that you had on the photos. Well, that was an altered. That was virtual staging. Oh, well, my client wasn't aware of it. They thought that that specific refrigerator was going to be part of the sale, and therefore they're upset. So what's going to happen here is if they have a strong case, they may ultimately have to replace it with something similar or identical to what they saw in the image. Be very careful. Does that make sense? Yeah. Question in the Zoom.
Hey, Simon.
Hi.
Um, so if when you go into the MLS and you upload your photos, there's a little section at the bottom for notes to describe the photo. So that's where I usually put on the virtually staged photo that it's virtually staged, and in the other photos I put that they're not virtually staged. Does that cover my compliance, or does it need to be said in like writing on the actual photo itself?
Image. Very good question. I don't have the answer yet. I am
Okay.
not 100% if it's going to be needed, just like copyrights on the photos, right? Have you ever seen photos that have copyrights? You can see the watermarks. I don't
Mhm.
know if that's going to be the issue, or as you mentioned, as long as you disclose it in that little section where remarks, I want to say that you're probably going to be okay doing it that way. But until we find out from MLS, they may require that you actually put that language on the actual image.
Okay.
Not sure yet. Okay, we'll find out because I believe that where you can put remarks, right? Because on the photo you can put, this is bedroom one, right? And
Mhm.
most agents currently do that, to protect themselves and to be in compliance. They'll add that language, but I'm not 100% with this new change if that means that is still going to continue, or if we have to include it in the actual image, meaning the verbiage, the language will be on the actual image, right? That I'm still not 100% sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
a special disclosure form for that, or it's coming soon?
There is no special disclosure that it's going to be like, here's a disclosure. Now, all of this information is straight out of the California Association of Realtors, right? So all of this information I pulled from the rules and regulation that's going to be impacting us as real estate professionals, right? I don't know, and I didn't see any new forms under the California zip forms, right? I don't know if there is any form per se, and there may be, okay? There may be an actual form that says, hey, as part of the buyer and the seller signature, right, as the advisories, that they may include this particular section of AB 723, and maybe. But right now, as I speak, and I've looked, they don't have it as part of the new release of uh, of the new forms and revisions. So, but again, I'm speaking now. They may include a one pager that the consumer will get, like, similar to like the wire fraud, the possible representation of more than one buyer and seller, right? They may include, hey, just out of full disclosure, the listing agent may have images that are altered, that are enhanced, and it's your job to do your due diligence, and please acknowledge and sign, right? That might be happening as part of our requirements, like advisory or a supplement, okay? But at the moment, we don't have that yet, okay? But everything is subject to change. Any other good questions? Any other questions?
I think there is one question in the chat from Lydia.
Okay. Thank you. Let me see. So, good morning. How do we disclose that it is a virtual stage? So I think I've answered that question. We're going to do it either through the MLS on the image. You're going to put the language on there. And then, Lily, if you are sending the property from the MLS to your buyer, is the listing agent or the introducing agent dinged? Okay, so well, yeah, whoever uploaded that photo into the MLS is the responsible individual. You as an agent, right, that send an MLS description or property, you're not going to get dinged for that because you are not the one that uploaded. You're not the one that altered this photo. You're only passing the information. So if anyone is going to get in trouble or fined, or in this case, ding, it would be the agent that uploaded the photos into the MLS. So in this case, it would be the listing agent, not the buyer's agent that pulled it, sent it to the buyer, and then the buyer believes, oh, this is misleading. Well, it's not my fault. I just pulled it from the MLS. That's the listing agent and the seller, right? Because remember, it coincides with both the seller and the listing agent, right? Both are responsible. One, the seller should know that these are altered. And two, the listing agent knows to be in compliance. This is why we're giving you this information in the forefront of this now, so that way you're not waiting to the very last minute, and now you get yourself in a pickle, right? So this is why it's important that you're on top of everything, and there's a lot of changes all the time. So this is just one example of this new, which is vital and very important because a lot of us do have a lot of enhanced marketing images, right? We do a lot of virtual staging, right? Because the seller doesn't want to spend $5,000 for actual furniture. We can do images for a couple $100s, right? That's the whole avenue to it. So to answer Lily's question, yeah, no, the listing agent would be ding. All right, so let's see, who was the last one? If we include in the photo notes that the photo is virtually staged, does that cover us for compliance on the MLS? Absolutely, yeah. As long as I know that that photo is altered And you tell me, then yeah, that falls under compliance because I know that it's not the actual photo, right? It is an altered, enhanced, then it's perfectly fine. So if I see a property that has a green grass, okay, but you say, hey, this is a virtual, you need to be very specific, okay, just to be in compliance, okay? So I guess your question is, how specific do you need to be, right? Well, I'm trying to protect my license. I'm going to be as thorough and as concise in my approach. I'm going to be very thorough. Hey, you know what? This is an enhanced photo. But here's the thing, right? They're going to see the enhanced photo. They're going to see the original photo. They're going to see that the grass is not. So I don't think you have to go that crazy of saying, hey, this is an altered. The grass is not actual green, right? They're going to be able to see it, right? But we'll see as we get through the process, right? As we get into it, I'll see what other agents, other brokers, other brokerages are doing. So we're in alignment, right? But as of right now, it's still uncertain as how this is all going to be practical and, the do's and don'ts. Remember, this is like last year in 2024 in August when the NAR uh, settlement and lawsuit, and now we had to remove MLS commissions from the MLS, right? Remember, and now we have to do BRBCs and buyer representation agreements and all that fun stuff. So I don't think you have to be that concise, but again, use common sense, right? And if you don't know, ask, right? There's a lot of people that are here to help and help you navigate that. So I hope that kind of answers your question. All right, team. Well, that's pretty much all I have. So if there